ठीक है. So okay, we were discussing about the built-up section, and we had started the design of a built-up section. So you can see these are the figures associated to the built-up section. These are the plans, I mean the top view, and we have seen that how the two channel sections can be brought together, and the load carrying capacity can be enhanced. Right now we have not yet checked the load carrying capacity of such kind of section. We have just started with. Let us now try to understand the complete design. For that, initially we have assumed few parameters like the FCD value and all. Based on that, we have started with the discussion of the this numerical. Okay. We were discussing about this, and in your IS 808 there is one small mistake. Instead of mm, it should be centimeter, because this is CG value. This CYY is nothing but the CG value, center of gravity value, and it cannot be 2.35 mm. It cannot be so. It should be centimeter. So you can do that necessary correction. One more thing, in your offline exam, you will not be allowed to carry the mobile phone. So what you are supposed to do, you are supposed to take the printout of all the necessary IS codes. You can carry all these IS codes along with you. There is no problem. Okay? So in that, even if you make the correction, whatever corrections I have told you, there is no issue. But make sure, listen very carefully. जो करेक्शन मैंने बताया, जैसे कुछ यूनिट्स का या फिर कुछ सिंबल्स का, other than that, if you are found with some kind of additional written material like the steps of the numerical, that won't be allowed. अभी ऑफलाइन में मुश्किल हो जाएगा आप लोगों को, तो ठीक है. So please do the necessary correction, and this CY value is nothing but the center of gravity. That value should be 23.5 mm or 2.35 centimeter. So this is the trial section which we have assumed. We have considered two ISMC 300, and for that double ISMC value, the area which is provided, it comes out to be 9260 mm square. So I will let you know that it is not necessary that all the time you are supposed to consider whatever value I have used here. आप लोग इससे पहले वाला सेक्शन भी कंसिडर कर सकते हैं, provided the area which is required, or whatever area you will be providing, that should be more than area which is required. Now there are few terms which you should remember. ये देखो मैंने चैनल सेक्शन ड्रॉ किया है यहाँ पे, ठीक है. फॉर दिस चैनल सेक्शन, 1 minute, होल्ड ऑन, 1 minute, मैंने अनम्यूट. ये अनम्यूट है. व्हाट अबाउट दिस? ठीक है. Right. So there are few things which you need to understand. ये देखो ये चैनल सेक्शन जो ड्रॉ किया है यहाँ पे, this is G, small g, which is denoted or which stands for the gauge for one row of bolts only. In our lacing or battening, generally we provide single bolt in order to connect the lacing or batten. For that, if these are the two members, and if this is the lacing, okay. Therefore, there are two types of lacing arrangements you can understand. One type is like this, where the two lacing plates, they are not getting intersected, they are separate. But most of the time you will find that only one bolt is sufficient enough for making the connections. So like this. There may be another case where you will notice that the lacing plates are getting overlapped and the connection is something of this sort. So this such case is also, acceptable. Okay. So such kind of lacing patterns you will come across, but most of the time you will find if bolted connections are provided, depending on the load carrying capacity, the number of bolts which are evaluated they are only one. In case there are more number of bolts, then this G value it will vary. Okay. So as per your steel table or IS 808, you will find that the meaning of this G is nothing but gauge. This is actually the distance. Okay. Gauge for one row of bolt only. For large flanges, so these are the flanges, and in order to take into account the connection part, if the flange is of greater length, then uh, the rows, more number of rows are desirable and different gauges are to be provided. Okay. So we will not be discussing about this thing, second part, because in our calculation, you will come across that one bolt is sufficient enough to make the connection. And for that, you can note down this table, because this table is not given in your steel table, neither it is given in your IS 808. So this is given in some other literature. So you can note down this thing. For the flange, flange width that is given by B suffix F, the essential G value is mentioned. So for example, if the flange width is 40 mm, G value is 21 mm, 45 it is 25, 50, 28, 55, 30, 60 and 65 it is 35 and so on. So I have mentioned from what end to what end the G value will be denoted. Okay, this complete is the width of the flange. आप लोग भी ऑनलाइन कनेक्ट हो जाओ, सब लोग देखते ना, ऑनलाइन आप ये हो जाओ. क्या IS कोड में, या फिर आप लोग सेपरेटली इसको ले सकते हो पोजीशन, एक सेपरेट पेपर में गेट इट अटेस्टेड बाय मी, कोई प्रॉब्लम. ठीक है. So I will proceed. Right. So this is the important note. It says that in the design of built-up columns with two sections, the sections are to be placed in such a manner that the least radius of gyration of the built-up section becomes as large as possible. Hence, the radius of gyration about the YY axis is increased so that it becomes equal to or more than the radius of gyration about the ZZ axis. This can be achieved by spacing the section in such a way that RZ becomes R minimum and vice versa. Therefore, you are supposed to check the safety of the section, after which its spacing can be calculated. Actually, this complete note is given in your IS 800 2007. Can you please open page number 48? And this clause number 7.6.1. देखो क्या लिखा है? I will read it out. In this clause 7.6.1.1, ठीक है? Page number 48. Members comprising two main components, laced and tied, should, where practicable, have a radius of gyration about the axis perpendicular to the plane of lacing, not less than the radius of gyration about the axis parallel to the plane of lacing. Okay, meaning of this statement is I have explained you over here. इसका ही मतलब है ry जो है या minimum radius of gyration value जो है, it should be greater than or equal to the r x or the z axis, major axis. How it can be achieved? Last time I have told you that if we keep everything symmetrical, in that case that can be very well achieved. Okay. So for this case, you will see that there is one more term that is of spacing. तो वो देखेंगे हम. Okay. Before that, let us see how this R minimum value has to be evaluated. So as per this note, what we will do, we will convert the R minimum to maximum radius of gyration value, or we will equate it. Okay. So for R minimum equal to RZ, this value is 118 mm. L effective value we have already evaluated depending upon the boundary condition or the end condition. That came out to be 10,000 mm. Now, ultimately what we are supposed to find out is the slenderness ratio. From that we will identify the FCD value and check whether the load carrying capacity is okay or not. That is what is our aim is. So we will be evaluating this lambda E value, effective slenderness ratio. Okay, and this can be found in on the same page number in this clause. So can you please read it out? 7.6.1.5. Can you please read it? देखो लास्ट जो लाइन है, इन अकाउंट टू टेक फॉर द shear deformation. क्या होता है shear deformation? Any idea? Yes, yes. बोलो. वर्टिकल डायरेक्शन में चेंज हो जाएगा ये. यानी एग्जैक्टली क्या है? बराबर है आप, बट व्हाट एग्जैक्टली विल बी द बिहेवियरल चेंज? क्या हो सकता है? राइट, बेंड या फिर इन दिस केस इट विल बकल. shear deformation is nothing but in simple word change in shape. Right? क्या होगा? Because of that buckling, you can imagine 10-meter long section is there. Okay, and it is getting subjected to the axial force which is coming from the top. By the virtue of this load, this is going to get deformed anyhow. Okay, so in order to take into account that change in shape factor, IS code recommends कि वो इतना times ज़्यादा होना चाहिए. कितना है वो 1.05 times. ठीक है. So this has to be increased by that amount, and therefore we are multiplying this value of what we call it as the effective slenderness ratio. So कितना आता है वो 1.05 times into KL by R minimum. ठीक है 88.98. This is lambda E value. Fy we know, unless and until it is defined, Fy should be considered as 250 MPa. Then selection of the buckling class, what it should be, channel section दिया हुआ है, तो आप रेफर करो टेबल नंबर. Which table will you refer in order to select the buckling class? नहीं, buckling class select करने के लिए टेबल 10 है ना. टेबल 10 you will refer in order to select the buckling class. तो channel section हम यूज कर रहे हैं, so that will be C. Okay, then what you will do, you will refer the relevant table in order to calculate this FCD value. So 9C table number, you please refer. Page number is 40, is it so? 40 or 42? 42. Page number 42. So for your convenience, I have written these values. 80 के लिए 136 है और 90 के लिए 121 है. So 88.98 के लिए it comes out to be 122.53. You please verify. Interpolation. ठीक है. So therefore FCD is this much value, and therefore PD comes out to be this much. तो यहाँ पे safe आ रहा है. ठीक है. Earlier I had tried a section which was I think 250 or so. उसका जो है ISMC 200, I don't know. ISMC 200 for that area was just more than what was calculated, but it failed over here. यहाँ पे वो फेल हो गया. तो आप लोगों को एग्जाम में देखो, मैं बता रहा हूँ, ये जो है in this numerical, if your section fails at this stage, you are not supposed to write that revise the section and do the further calculation. No, you are supposed to take a higher value and then go for the complete design, because आपको built up section में आपको lacing या batten ये exclusively पूछा जाएगा. इसमें से आपको डिजाइन करना है. इसका मतलब क्या है, आपका जो ट्रायल सेक्शन है that should be safe, that should come out to be safe. इनिशियल इसमें अगर आपको फेल होता है तो go for the next higher section. And in order to avoid those calculation efforts, ये केस में 15 to 20% इंक्रीज कर दो आप एरिया. ये जो वैल्यू है, जो आप रिक्वायर्ड वैल्यू है 15 to 20% आप कर दो उसको इंक्रीज, देयर इज नो प्रॉब्लम. ठीक. इसलिए देखो ये जो है ना, हाउ मच इट मस्ट बी, हाउ मच परसेंटेज, कितना परसेंटेज आ रहा है वो 9260 और ये 7200. इतना परसेंटेज इंक्रीज, हाँ 22.24 है ना। तो ऐसा 20% आप इंक्रीज कर सकते हो, ताकि क्या होगा कि जो आपका इनिशियल जो सेक्शन रहेगा वो सेफ रहेगा 100%. ओके, we will proceed. Hence it is okay and safe to continue. Then let us provide two channel sections back to back. जो first case है हमारा back to back connection. Okay, so how to place this? This is the I mean position of the two channel sections which are to be placed back to back. And remember, the distance from this point to this point, what is this point known as of a channel section? क्या कहते हैं इसको? इसको टो कहते हैं या हील कहते हैं? Heel, है ना? The distance between heel to heel, that is your spacing, that you should remember. Because why I am telling you, in case of the channel sections which are placed toe to toe, in this case, the spacing जो रहेगा, it will be from here to here. Got it? और इसमें क्या होगा? There are few terms like the gauge distance and CYY value or the center of gravity. Here you will find that I have mentioned this gauge distance. What is the CYY value? This is 23.5 mm. Am I right? And what about the gauge distance for channel section which we have assumed here? ISMC is 300. इसका flange width कितना है? What is the flange width for ISMC 300? That you will get from the IS 808 or steel level. So can you please let me know what is the B suffix F value? Flange width. How much it is? नहीं मिला अभी तक? कितना है? 90 है ना? So for 90 mm, what is the gauge distance we should use? तो gauge distance का जो टेबल मैंने आप लोगों को दिखाया उसमें से 90, how much it is? 55. It must be somewhere here as per the gauge distance. It must be somewhere here. Okay. So this is your small g. Correct? This is small g. Right? तो ये देखो आप लोग, this is your CY, whereas this complete is G. ठीक है? Just keep this figure in mind. Now we will shift to this figure, and you can see this is the S. Then this becomes the CG, CY distance. and this is your G. यहाँ पे भी कुछ नहीं. Meaning of this is we will be connecting your lacing plate like this. Got it? यहाँ पे वो बोल्ट कनेक्शन होगा. Similarly over here. Like this. Are you getting this? This is the top view which I have shown. अब top view में inclined portion is straight दिखेगा, isn't it? Therefore it is straight. Now see, ये हो गया आपका S. This is CY and from here to here it is G. Right? Same representation. क्योंकि calculation जब होगा, in calculation you will come to know that there is a difference between these two figures, and the calculation of S will vary accordingly. Right? So let us see to it. So let us provide this. Then the spacing calculation. In order to calculate the spacing, you will have to make use of this formulation, because you can see z-axis ke about there is symmetry, but about y-axis there is not symmetry, because there are two different or individual axis of symmetry for these two channel sections. We will have to transfer that. Okay, and with the help of the parallel axis theorem, you can easily do that. Okay, so Iz is equal to Iz dash plus AD square. Actually, it should be Iy, huh? Not Iz. Isn't it? It should be Iy over here. What we are doing? We are equating the z-axis with the y-axis. But in case of y-axis, we will have to make use of the formula which speaks about the parallel axis theorem. So over here, this is Iz equal to Iy actually. Iz equal to Iy. And in order to express this Iy, this should be actually Iy dash. So I have used it over here. Right? So 2 times Iz equal to 2 times Iy. Because there are two channel sections, that's why. तो अगर आप 2 यही पे उसको eliminate कर दिया तो भी कोई problem नहीं है. There is no harm. Okay. So fine. How to calculate now this AD square? D is nothing but the perpendicular distance which we are supposed to identify about this axis. So either this or this, one and the same thing. Okay. So what you do, you carry out the calculation for single channel section first of all. Then if you wish to multiply it by 2, you can do. Otherwise, if you want to skip, no harm. Why? Because you can see 2 gets cancelled over here. Right? So ये जो D है, this D value, this is what we need to find out. So यहाँ पे देखो मैंने क्या लिखा है, D is nothing but S by 2 plus CY. Is it okay? बराबर है ना? ये वाला जो डिस्टेंस है यहाँ से यहाँ तक, इसका हाफ S by 2 plus CY. Got it? ठीक है. So you can substitute that particular value over here for the D. ठीक? Then so Iz, if you see Iz from the steel table or IS 808, I suppose this value is 6240 10 raised to power 4. You please verify. Please check. Similarly, Iy for the same channel section, it is 313 into 10 raised to power 4. Everything I am expressing it in terms of mm. Okay, you can verify that. Then the area. Remember, we are selecting a single channel section and doing the calculations accordingly. So this area is for the single channel section. Correct? And then this s by 2 plus 23 by 2 whole square. If you solve it, you will get s value to be 182.9 mm, or you can round it up to 183 mm. Okay? So this is how the s can be evaluated. This was very straightforward because everything was, you know, in line. However, if you want to calculate it over here, for this case, यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा चेंज होगा, प्लस का माइनस हो सकता है, तो वो थोड़ा सा आप लोगों को ध्यान में रखना है, right? So this is how the spacing is to be evaluated. In the next class, we will discuss how to design the lacing pattern. Okay, there are few clauses which are mentioned in your IS 800. Those clauses we will revisit, and let's see how to design the lacing flat. Flat, it is a plate. Okay, flat plate. Thickness is very less. It must be. It is in the order of 5 mm. बहुत छोटी plate. Because you try to understand the purpose of these lacing or battening plates. It is just to make the two sections in one position. Okay, it is a holding section. नहीं sir, 6 हो, राइट? तो उसके लिए आप लोग एक काम करो, IS 808 में तो फ्लैट के बारे में कुछ दिया नहीं है. You can download steel table. It is easily downloadable. रामामृथम का अगर मिलता है तो बेस्ट. रामामृथम स्टील टेबल बाय रामामृथम. देख लेना, उसमें सभी फ्लैट्स, MS flats, then solid sections, hollow pipes, all this information you can find. IS 808 limitation, I don't know why. ठीक है. ठीक है, एक चिट्ठी पे लिख के दे दो.